We'll start today on our backs. And in today's class, we're getting into the inner thighs. So please place your hands on your belly. You can have your knees bent and your knees dropped in towards one another, if that feels good. Imagine all the sand in the sand timer. Picture the pieces of sand like grains of sand, like your thoughts all settling down, all the flurry of your day. And allow your breath to be easy, ideally in and out through the nose. I'd like you to have one hand below your navel, below your belly button, one hand somewhere in your ribs. It could be at your solar plexus or your upper chest or the side of your ribs, but I want you to feel movement in the rib cage as well as in your belly. So sometimes yoga teachers emphasize diaphragmatic breathing a little too much. And we can actually benefit from breathing into our chest, into the totality of our rib cage, keeping movement there. If you want a healthy neck, you need to have healthy rib cage mobility. And just your breath is probably the quote unquote easiest way to make that happen. So both hands on your abdomen, maybe even on the front of your pelvis. Yeah, find the front bony hip points. And I'd like you to separate your knees if they were touching one another. If your eyes were closed, great. Crack them open just a little bit now. And we're going to keep this left leg right where it is and just open the right knee without the pelvis rocking about halfway to the floor. Might be a little more, might be a little less depending on your body. Draw the knee right back to parallel with the left, and then again, keeping your pelvis as level as you can. Super, super level. That's got to be the number one. Let your other leg, your left leg, fall out. So my eyes are about like at half mast, just so that I have enough awareness of what my knees are doing, but I'm not in a hyper alert state. I'm just staying internal as much as possible. One knee out, then the other. Tick-tocking side to side. The leg that's staying up, it's trying to not move at all. And last one or two. Coming back through to center, wiggle your feet to the edges of your mat. Just drop your knees side to side. Hopefully you have a little more room than I do, and you can really let the outer thigh come down to the floor. You can ignore my creaky floor sounds. And then coming back to neutral, I often start with posterior pelvic tilts. So we're going to just do a few of those. Imagine your pelvis like a bowl, and you're tilting it backwards and finding neutral. Tilting it backwards and finding neutral. But today we're going to add a more interesting layer to it. I think it's more interesting. So instead of your pelvis going back and forth like this, you're going to rock it side to side, to the right and to the left, okay? So your right butt cheek will come off the floor, then your left butt cheek. You can have your hands at the front of your pelvis again. Try to find the boniest front hip point. And at first, you can just go really fast, really free. See if you notice this coming from your legs more, or maybe your mid back or your upper back. And see if you can feel it happening a little bit more from the front of your body. And then we're going to slow it down and try to keep the knees still as the pelvis keeps moving. So I'm aiming to glue my knees in space as the pelvis rocks to the right and to the left. Awesome. We'll just do a couple more of these. And then we're going to let that sort of organically morph into the pelvic clock. So imagine you're laying back on a clock and you're going to go all around the clock, all the way up to noon, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, just doing your best to keep your knees pointed towards the sky. It's a pretty subtle movement. Switch the direction of the clock. So you start off clockwise, and now you're going to go counterclockwise. What I like about this is, even though it's not really building strength per se, it's building an awareness. It's building a somatic sense of where your body is in space, which then allows you to have better lumbopelvic control. Go ahead and grab your block now, one of your blocks, if you happen to have two of them, and you're going to place it between your thighs. And I want you to bring your hands to the back of your head and float your legs up enough so that your low back is pressed to the floor. So your knees might be right over your pelvis, or they might be a little closer to the chest. You're going to spread your toes. And without using your elbows or your arms, just drop your knees a little to the right and a little to the left. So in a way, it's the same pelvic rocking that we just did, but now with a little squeezing into the block and a lot less support from our feet and our arms. Stay connected to breath. Maybe keep your forearms completely off the floor. Just a little rocking side to side. And we're going to, similar to the pelvic clock, take this into a bigger motion. So draw some big circles here. Feel the entirety of your low back press into the ground at the peak. And don't let your low back really arch up too much. So you might find that your knees don't really go a lot beyond 90 degrees. Switch the direction of this circle. And I want it to feel challenging to your core. So again, soft through the arms. You can have the arms by your sides or to the back of your head, but just make sure that they're doing very, very little work. Keep squeezing the block, separating your feet gives you a little bit of bonus points here. Last circle or two. And then come on in, and this time, block or throw pillow. You can actually put it out towards the far end of your mat. And dig your heels into that block. Keep squeezing your thighs to an imaginary other block, or if you happen to have a second block, you can squeeze it between your legs. And you're going to flatten your back, curl your tailbone up off the floor, then your sacrum. L5, L4, L3, L2, L1. Just start with keep your rib cage, your crop top down on the floor. And then just the bottom couple of ribs rise up. We settle it right back down. We lower it right back down all the way. Digging your heels in helps to activate the hamstrings, which are a really important part of a stable pelvis. And you can rise and lower as you wish here a few times. Your adductors and engaging your adductors are also a really important part of your core control. So if you've ever felt like it was difficult for you to build core strength, you might actually focus a little bit on your inner thighs, your adductor muscles. We've got one last round. Rise it up, hold it. Feel your glutes, feel your hamstrings kick in. I want you to get a little fatigued, maybe even a little shaky. Keep squeezing into the block, digging your heels in. And exhale, lower, 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 lower. Nice and slow, all the way down. So, blocks can be out of the way. Roll onto one side and grab something for under your head. So I've got my meditation cushion here. Grab something for under your head that feels like it's going to give you a little bit of support. You can actually have your block here under your top leg. This is going to be probably the most neutral and gentle position for the top hip. But if you've got good mobility, you might also put your top foot flat to the floor. Bottom leg is going to straighten out, and we're just going to lift and lower. So one of the things that I notice in my own body as I do this lifting and lowering is that my neck loves to get into the action, even though it's really far away. So here's how to keep your neck relaxed. 1, use some kind of pillow or block to support your head. 2, take your top hand and just push it down on the floor. That should help engage your core a little bit more. And then 3, just purposefully relax your neck. The leg that is lifting and lowering is doing so in a nice, smooth arc up and down. See if you can reach the same height each time. If you're getting tired, that's normal. We'll just do a couple more here. And then you're going to relax, bend that knee to 90 degrees. Top leg rests on the bottom leg. I've got a 90-degree angle at my hips, a 90-degree angle at my knees, and about a 90-degree angle at my feet. So I'm going to lift the knee, lift the foot. I'm going to lower the knee, lower the foot. Lift the foot, lift the knee, lower the foot, lower the knee. Now you can go as slowly or as quickly as you want with this, but a couple of prerequisites. Make sure your pelvis is stable here so that the hip is turning in the socket, just like a doorknob turning. Now yours doesn't have to look exactly like my pattern. So I'm leading first with the foot through the 4 positions, and then I'm leading the next round through the knee, 1, 2, 3, 4 positions. It really doesn't matter how you do this. You can keep it simple by keeping your leg up and just going back and forth, just so long as you're allowing the movement to get as smooth as it possibly can be, and that the trunk and the torso are not taking advantage of the wiggle, right? Like they're not doing the wiggling and the movement for you. And this can get pretty tiring. So if you need a break, take one. We've just got about 3 more repetitions. Let's see if I can go back to my original patterning here. We're getting to the internal rotators, external rotators, and the abductors of the hip. And then when that leg is rested fully, make a soft fist and just pound out the kind of meaty area around your top hip if you need to. So again, rest this top leg on a block or on a throw pillow, or set your foot flat to the floor. This time, the bottom leg is going to lift up and it's going to draw some circles. We're going to end up doing the circles in both directions. So just try to make them smooth. Mine probably look like a 5-year-old circles. So I'm really trying to smooth it out like the circle cookie cutter. And let's say we've done 8 or so in one direction already. Let's switch directions. And again, smooth, smooth circles. As smooth as can be. Top hand roots to the ground. Inner thigh, maybe burning a little bit here. That's okay. Last circle or 2. Before we do the other side, we're gonna do a little bit for our necks. So, pillow out of the way, roll onto your belly, and then just prop yourself up on your elbows. So in a typical Sphinx pose in yoga, your elbows would be right under your shoulders and your hands would be right in front of you, sort of forearms parallel. But what I would love to see is your elbows wide here, so a diamond shape. And from that diamond shape, we're just going to look over one shoulder and then the other. So what's happening is you're weight bearing through your arms, and you're getting a little good, healthy rotation through your upper back. You're getting good coordinated neck mobility. And the muscles around your shoulder blades, they're both stabilizing, working to hold you up, and they are getting some motion as lotion, contracting and relaxing. So coming back through to center, keeping that diamond shape of the arms, just lift your rib cage off the yoga mat, but keep your pelvis down. And try breathing a little bit into your upper back. This looks really simple, but it can be nice and challenging. Relax. This time we're going to do the same thing, but I want you to drag isometrically your arms back towards the rest of your body. So you're trying to dig in a little, maybe even aim to create a wrinkle on your yoga mat. Lift your low ribs, keep your pelvis down. You might even notice I've got my toes curled under here. And that's just for the little added toe stretch. Breath into the back body. And then relax and just shake it out a little bit. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And we're going to move to the other side. So grab your pillow, set yourself up, and have a block handy if that is useful for your top leg. So remember to relax your head here. Top foot is either resting on the block or it is foot to the floor. Top shin is either. And the bottom leg is just going to be lifting and lowering. Make it as smooth of an arc as you can. I'm always fascinated in the process of practicing asana about the differences between one side and the other, because you notice differences in strength, in capacity, in smoothness, neuromuscular control, and it should feed into our daily practice, like the essence of what we need on a physical level on any given day. Rest your lifted leg, and you're going to stack your knees, 90-90 position of the legs, and go ahead and lift your top knee, lift your top foot, lower your top knee, lower the top foot. Top hand can be in front of you to help coordinate your core, or you can have the hand on the pelvis just to make sure that the pelvis is not rocking. Now I lead first with the knee, then with the foot, or you can just tap knee, tap foot. Keep it simple as you need it to be. If you get any burning sensation in the outer hip, that's pretty normal. So just take some rest and feel free to make that soft fist again and pound it out a little bit. I've lost my rhythm. We've got one or two more of these. So just play with whatever version works for you. Lots of coordination happening here. And then when you're ready, make that loose fist and everybody just rock it out a little bit around the side of the hips. And then we've got one more for the inner thigh here. So bottom leg straightens out and we're going into our circles. So go ahead and lift the foot and draw some circles. Allow the circles to be so smooth and sweet. And then after about 8 or 10 in one direction, we're going to switch sides. So 8 or 10 in the other direction. And we're going to be doing some more challenging things with the inner thigh muscles in this practice. This is a really nice, interesting way to start, just to notice differences one side to the next. So last circle, this is our second direction. Okay, one more, and then relax and rise up to a side set just for a moment. So in this side sit, you're going to have your legs staggered the way mine are. And I call this, what do I call this? Like flower petal legs, sort of like little flower petals that would overlap one another. Hands to your hips and just some nourishing action for your hips. Rock a little back and forth here. After doing this a few times on one side, we're going to switch sides and rock a little back and forth on the other side. And then come on to hands and knees. So cushion your knees with some blankets as needed. Forgive the squeaky nature of my floor. And then just move through cat and cow. So as you go into cow pose, belly down, heart forward. As you go into cat pose, really round up towards the sky. Keep moving with your breath, maybe closing your eyes. A couple of tips for those who feel a little stiff in your wrists, especially in the beginning of practice. Number one, walk your hands forward of your shoulders. They don't have to be directly underneath. That's actually really hard on the wrists. Number two, dial your fingers outward a little bit. Your first or your middle finger don't have to be facing exactly truly forward all the time. And then number three, of course, you can always come down onto your forearms if needed. Go ahead and introduce different planes of movement into your cat-cow. So I'm just going side to side with a little bit of a rounded spine. That's what feels good to me today. And you can play with whatever feels good for you. If you're somebody experiencing a lot of neck and shoulder stuff, then I want you to play with letting your head be soft and really almost trying to breathe into the armpit. It sounds ridiculous, but your lungs are all the way up there, right? So as I lean to my I'm making a C shape with the convex side to the left, I'm breathing right there into the side ribs as close as I can to the shoulder, and then going to the other side. So the head is just kind of hanging. Arms are working pretty fiercely. And then go ahead and lower yourself down onto your forearms. So round your spine a little bit here, keeping your head off the floor. This is a really powerful and simple way to prepare your body for down dog. So we're going to inhale to a neutral spine, exhale and round. Lean into the forearms. And the reason for this, keep going back and forth. By the way, you can change the inhale to being while you're rounded if you'd like, just breathing into the upper back. The reason that this is so powerful for down dog is because it really teaches the shoulder blades to upwardly rotate and to be stable. So it basically presets all the muscles that you might need for this action. And then when you are ready, come right back up onto hands and knees. Walk your hands a little bit further forward. Curl your toes under and drive your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Just go ahead and get out any wiggles that would feel good here. So a little bend in the right knee and the left knee, back and forth. And then go ahead and walk your hands all the way to the back of your yoga mat. Let your knees bend, let the head get heavy, and just shake left and right. Shake your head out left and right also. Widen the space between your feet and go ahead and bring your elbows onto your knees. Shift to the right, shift to the left. So you can get a 2-for-1 special here. As your body sways a little to the right and to the left, you're getting good motion in your shoulders. You're creating the gentle traction of gravity on your neck. And you're also getting this really gentle hip, pelvis, glutes, hamstring mobility introduced. So it's dynamic. It's not yanking on anything. It should just feel like a series of gentle stretches across your backside, your hips, maybe even your pelvic floor. And then walk your hands up to the top of the knees And dip one shoulder back to neutral and dip your other shoulder. One of the best things you can do for neck issues is to make sure you're getting good thoracic mobility. I've really locked out my elbows here, so I'm also getting a little bit of lengthening in the side waist. And then come back through to center. Wiggle your feet, maybe to hip distance. Lift all 10 toes, spread them wide. Lower them down, maybe fanning them out, or at least trying to fan them out. Keep a nice bend here. Ribs come in, palms press over the heart. Now we're going to keep this stack of our body into Utkatasana, or chair pose. And take one arm by the side waist, one arm by the ear, and then other side. Really reach, really reach, really reach, really reach. Back and forth. And then last one or two. Inhale, exhale, fold it down. Walk yourself right back out to downward facing dog. Shift forward, find your way to plank. Feel free to be in a knees down plank. Rise up and back, downward dog. Walk your feet a little further away from one another, just a little closer to the edges of the mat. Inhale, rise to your tiptoes. Exhale, shift it forward, find your plank. This time come into the outside of your right foot, inside of your left, and then switch and pivot. Just go side to side. Noticing that coordination of your core and your inner thighs and your outer hips. Back to center, downward facing dog. This is a great place to have your two blocks under your hands, especially if you're hamstring challenged. And we're going to walk slowly forward to the front of the mat. From the front of the mat, inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, back of the neck long. Exhale, bend your knees, rest and fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, back of the neck long. Exhale, bend and fold. Let's just do one more for good measure. Halfway up. Exhale, bend and fold. As you rise, if you wish, you can stack vertebra by vertebra, or you can come up with a nice long spine. Inhale, palms meet and reach. Exhale, palms down to the earth, knees bend. Inhale, halfway up. We're going to exhale, and let's lead with the right foot to the back. Lower your back knee down, and then press your pelvis forward. Rise up, little bit of Anjaneyasana, maybe not the deepest one ever. Bring your hands to the back of your head. Press the head into the hands, lean back. And then exhale, inside hand, so it's the right hand comes down. And we're going to pivot, front foot out, back toes to the side mat. Find a variation of side plank. Press through the hand, lift through the hips, lift through the top arm. All hands down. Take the vinyasa of your choice. So I'm going to offer a knees, chin, and chest option today. Feel free to go through chaturanga. Little back bend, it might look like cobra or locust pose, waking up the muscles of the back body, connecting to core, downward facing dog. And then go ahead and take a slow motion walk to the front of the mat. Halfway up, inhale. Exhale, fold. Other foot back, left foot this time. Lower your back knee, crescent lunge. Knee down, crescent lunge, that is Anjaneyasana. Switch the interlace of the fingers to the back of your head. As you lean back, head pushes into the hands. You can turn just a little side to side here. And then inhale, arms up, inside hand comes down. In this case, it's the left. All toes turn, side plank variation. Lift the hips a little higher. And all hands down, step it back. Downward facing dog, optional vinyasa. You can take knees, chin, and chest. Full chaturanga or knees down chaturanga. Child's pose or downward dog. from down dog, raise your tiptoes, spin all of your toes towards one long edge of your yoga mat. And then let's just lean forward. So you're sort of in a side plank. You're sort of in a twisted down dog. Couple of breaths here. Now, if you feel comfortable, come all the way into a side plank. So you can squeeze your legs together. Keep your hips high. Feel free to put your bottom knee on the ground here. Rise it up and back, down dog. Make sure there's plenty of space between your feet so you can do the same thing on the other side. Raise to your tiptoes, spin your toes, shift, and you're in kind of a half side plank, twisted down dog hybrid, and then you can lean forward optionally. Bring your top hand to your hip, hold for a couple of breaths, and then root and rise. Go ahead and lower your knees down to the ground. So what we're going to play with next is a couple of variations to help us build stability in side plank. Now, number one is it takes a lot of arm strength. So if you have a block, this can be really useful to just bring the ground closer to you so there's less weight. Secondly, instead of putting our hand to the floor, which can be a little hard on the hand, you might try coming to your forearm. So forearm across the block, lengthwise, side to side, so the forearm can be there. And then with the legs, I want you to stack your stack your legs with your knees bent to 90 degrees and drive it down and lift your hips a little bit. Try lifting your pelvis, try rooting down through the arm, staying really connected here. Good. Lower the hand, take it back, and we've got another side. Whenever you're ready, lean forward. Forearm is either on the ground or the yoga block. Knees are bent, legs are stacked. Squeeze your butt, draw your ribs back, come into this side plank variation on the other side. So you can always do this variation. Good, you guys. Release. Set your block to the side, downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward, roll to your tiptoes. Any variation of the vinyasa you'd like, even if it's literally just plank back to down dog. Doesn't matter. And then from down dog, whenever you get there, lower one knee to the ground. Lower your back leg to the ground. Toes are going to turn out towards the long edge of your yoga mat. So root your hand and bring your top hand to your hip here. And I want you to really try to press down through the leg that is extended out. If you feel comfortable, push down so much into this extended out leg that your bottom leg floats off the floor for a moment. Maybe 2, maybe 3. Lower down. Root. I'm going to show you a really interesting version of the vinyasa. So the leg that was extended, it stays floated. I think that's the right word, floating. And then elbows bend, so you're in that knees, chin, and chest variation. Keep the leg lifted, like in a one-legged locust pose. And then raise up and back. Down dog, 3-legged. Readjust. I'm going to switch sides so you guys can still see. And then from down dog, both feet to the ground. Lower down your other knee. Back heel sinks. First, find your side plank variation here. By the way, you can pivot on your standing knee, on the knee that's down the ground. You're going to drive the hand that's in the ground, root it down, lift your hips, and this top leg you have to push as well. So push that one down as you maybe get a little bit of lift here. Maybe get a little bit of lift. And then last one, all hands. Back leg can lift up. Hands need to walk in line with your mid ribs typically, and then you lower. Keep it lifted. Partial locust pose, 3-limbed locust pose. Keep it lifted, 3-legged down dog. Shake out your head for good measure. And then settle all of your knees and take a child's pose if you'd like. So we're going to inhale, shift forward. We've already done this forearm variation of side plank. We've already done the side plank where you really have to use that back leg lifted. And we're going to play with a couple of other variations, right? We've also done the one where one foot's out and one foot's back, right? And we're just lifting from here. So let's come into the same flower petal shape that we were in before. So you've got this one shin on the ground. You've got this other shin right in front of you. And I want your shin that is sort of, we'll call it behind you, to be parallel with your back edge of your yoga mat. First, we're going to get into the hip strengtheners, stabilizers a bit. I'd like you to place your pillow or your block under this back knee. And then just lift your foot off the ground as much as you can. You may have to adjust the block so that you're using your own muscles. And let's just do a few of these. Good. Now, block or no block, this time it would be under the foot. And we're going to lift the knee up and down. Good. And then now keep your block within arm's reach. If your arms get a little tired doing side plank stuff, you can always put a block under the hand that you're leaning on for support. The shin, again, parallel to the back edge of your yoga mat, top hand to the top hip. And now we're going to drive down, lift up. You can use both legs to help you lift. And then once you're lifted, lift this front leg. So if you're comfortable here, I'm going to give you something to advance it in just a moment. But if you need to, keep resting your knee down, lift, rest, maybe lift a little, okay? So if you're comfortable here, you're going to take this top arm and you're going to drive it towards the knee and reach. Drive it towards the knee, maybe even reach the leg out. Drive it in and out. Drive it in and out. Drive it in and out. Last one, drive it in and out. And then settle, settle, settle. And without using your hands, switch to the other side, okay? Block or no block under your knee. Legs are in the flower petal position. You're going to float your back heel, back foot, off the floor and back on. Off and on. Off and on. Off and on. Just a few more. And then switch sides. So it's about 5 to 8 repetitions of each of these. Now, notice any differences between the right side and the left side. Big part of our practice, that self-study, that awareness. And then releasing. Bringing your shin parallel to the long edge of the mat. Short edge of the mat is what I mean. Block under your hand that's going to be supporting you as needed. You can drive the shin down, rise up using both of your legs. Maybe stay here, maybe lift your bottom leg up and put it down. Hear my squeaky floor, and put it down. And of course, you can go a little bit bigger, right? You can lift, bring your elbow to your knee and down, lift elbow to knee, or reach the arm to the sky, lift, and then as the arm goes out, leg goes out. So lift. Yep, lots of coordination. And last one. And then release. Let's go ahead and root the hands to the ground and move through the vinyasa of your choice. In down dog. Head is heavy, shake it out. Drive the arms into the ground so your shoulder blades are going to roll up. And then round your spine, rise to your tiptoes. Come forward into this kind of cobra head, plank, and up and back down dog. 2 more like that. Rise to your tiptoes, round, cobra head plank, and up and back down dog. Last one. Downward facing dog. Please lower onto one forearm, then the other for dolphin. Just drive your elbows in, keeping the head heavy. Good. I've got one last challenging move for us today. And so if you want to take on any of the previous variations of side plank, you can do that. But if you want to just explore a slightly different challenge, you can do that as well. So I'm stacking my 2 blocks, both of them in the low height position. So together, they're about 8 inches, 9 inches off the floor. Now, option number 1 is to take your top shin and put it on there. Come onto your forearm or your hand. The forearm is going to be easier on the wrist, but more on the leg. The hand is going to be harder on the wrist, but more on the arm. So this is option 1. Now I've fully freed my bottom leg from this position. So I can lift, drive it down, make sure the blocks don't move, and lift and lower this leg. Now that's a good challenge right there. So feel free to stay right there. I will probably be going back to that. Or you can stretch your leg out so that only your shin, not with the knee bent, but with the leg straight. So it crosses an extra joint, so it's going to be a little bit harder. Your shin close to your ankle, only that portion is resting on the top block. You're going to lift. Lots of adductor strength here to lift and lower your bottom leg. Like I said, I'm going to go back to the original position. And you can do this with 1 block to make it easier, or you can go back to the shin on the floor to make it more reasonable. So wherever you are, leg up and down, up and down, up and down. Last 1 or 2. And relax. Just go ahead and set your blocks completely to the side for a moment. Stretch yourself out completely on your side for a moment. And hand can rest on the head. This is a really beautiful and simple shape when you bring your top foot into tree pose, or your top foot onto the floor in front of you, or even to grab your big toe here and to come into either a happy baby or a Hasta Padangustasana shape. So wherever you are, enjoy the little wobbles that come from this. Yeah, we're going to do a bit of release for our inner thighs before the class is over. Lower down onto your belly. Rest your forehead. Let your head rock a little side to side, and then bend your knees and let your feet rock side to side. As you're ready, we've got another side. So, set up block, 2 blocks, or no blocks, towards the end of your mat. We're going to start with the shin, as in shin parallel to the short edge, but feel free to go into the shin perpendicular to the short edge. So I already showed you that one on the other side. Top hand can help you for a little bit of support and a little bit of muscular stability and strength. Root down through the top leg, float your hips. Both legs help with that. And then lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Couple more of these. You can do this with a chair at home as well. And then when you're ready, completely relax down. Set your blocks off to the side. and come on to your back. Draw your knees into your chest, open your knees a little side to side, like you're doing happy baby in the laziest way possible. It's one of my favorite variations. I'm just gentle rocking my knees, my hips, the pelvis is doing that side to side clock we did earlier. And then I'm going to take the palms up, arms out like little robot arms, and just rock a bit side to side here. Squeeze your inner thighs into your arms gently and release. Squeeze your inner thighs into your arms gently and release. And one last time, squeeze, 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 and release. Scoop your hands to the back of your knees. Come into happy baby. If you've got the room, go ahead and stretch your legs out into a big V shape, just for the fun of it. Active, active feet. Active inner thighs. And then draw everything back into center. Roll to one side and come up into a seated position. So before we get too comfortable today, soles of your feet together. And they can be as far out away from you or as close to you as feels good. It doesn't matter to me. But your legs are going to be in front of you like this diamond-shaped Baddha Konasana. Hands to the end of your thighs. You're going to press your thighs up into your hands for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let's do that again. Press the hands into the thighs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This works on a principle of contract, relax. We've got one more. So in the moment of relaxation, after a gentle contraction, that's when your muscle spindles have the most extensibility, which is another way of saying that as you relax right now, you may notice your knees getting a little closer to the floor if the limitation that was stopping them from getting closer to the floor earlier was indeed your muscle. So you can do this anywhere in your body, anywhere that feels tight. Actually contract the muscle that feels tight rather than stretch it. And then in that moment of relaxation, capture it a little bit. So from here, if you feel comfortable, straighten your legs out to the sides. And you're welcome to put your blocks or your throw pillows or whatever you want between your knees and the ground. And I'm just going to hold mine up a little so they're not going to be completely straight. I'm using my own muscles, my heels to dig in, and I'm just going to rock a little side to side. I don't know about you guys, but that was a lot of inner thigh strengthening for me that we worked on today. And so what I want to do is I want to send my nervous system a message that you don't have to grip, you don't have to freak out, you don't have to tighten that like crazy. You're probably going to feel a little bit of muscle soreness tomorrow, which is okay. But I want you to know that everything is safe and fine. So just a little more rocking. And then if you're really loving this, keep your legs stretched out as long as you want. We can bring the legs back in for a gentle cross-legged position, whatever feels good to you. And on your inhale, reach your arms up. On your exhale, spin to one side. Look over that back shoulder. Lean back a little. Soften the expression on the face. Let the breathing slow down. Inhale back to center. Beam it up. Exhale, take it to the other side. Eyelids start to get heavy. Ribs lean back. Neck relaxed. Shake it out a little. You can roll your shoulders a little, even inside the twist. And inhaling right back to center. If you would like to come onto your back, please do so. You can bring your hips to the center of your mat and use your core, or come through Ardha Navasana, or use your elbows to come onto your back. If you'd like to stay upright for seated meditation, go for it. I recommend grabbing a little something under your hips so that you can be comfortable here. You can even use your throw pillows or your blocks under each of your knees if that would give you more ease. For me, it can go either way, so I'm going to go without them. And wherever you are, notice and appreciate gravity. Notice if there's more weight on the right side of your body versus the left. Right glutes, left glutes. Right heel, left heel. Right thigh, left thigh. Right shoulder, left shoulder. Elbows, wrists, and back of the hands. Maybe even rock your head a little side to side until it feels that it's perfectly in center. And tune your awareness now to your breath. We move from the gross to the subtle, the gross being the most obvious physical body stuff. Breath being part body, part ether, so a little more subtle. Bring into your awareness whatever thoughts are popping up, whatever might be pulling at your attention. Notice if you can release the strings and absorb yourself for this suspension of time into presence, breath, body. Whenever you feel or you notice your mind wandering, draw it back to awareness of one body part. It could be your jaw, creating a little slack in between the jaw and the top teeth, bottom teeth and top teeth. Breath is easy. And you're welcome to stay where you are. whether it's in meditation or shavasana, for as long as you like. You're welcome to join me in the reawakening, sensing a deepness, broadness to the breath, making any little wiggles, facial expressions, wrist circles, ankle circles that would feel good. Getting spacious across the forehead, between the eyebrows. And then if you're on your back, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. We'll start to wake up, draw your knees to your chest. And gently rock side to side, eventually rolling to one side. Slowly pressing up to seated. If you're in seated, you can roll your shoulders. You can move your head a little left and right. Smooth across the forehead. Soft, gentle smile across the face. We're going to bring our palms together over the heart. This is a way of representing externally the disparate parts of ourselves and the way that we can bring everything together, that we can use our time, our precious time on this planet, to create more unity internally and externally. And if you'd like, you can bow your head just ever so softly. We bow to our greatest potential. We bow to the teacher within. We bow to the teacher without. We bow to those from whom we have learned. We bow with gratitude to our own physical capacity and our health in this moment. And we bow to all the potential that lay ahead. I want to thank those of you for showing up today, for creating community, even as we are stretched sometimes far and wide. And I want you to rest in that connection to self, that connection to others that is always, always present. Thank you for being here. Namaste.